Welcome back to the Cuddy and Gavi Show. Gavi, it's another beautiful week down here in South Florida. I know it's like 15 degrees up in Philadelphia, 9 degrees in New York. Today, what is it, a pleasant 62?
No, it's like 72 out there
Is
right
it
now.
72?
Yeah, it's
All
nice.
right, 72
Sun
degrees.
came out. It's nice.
So you can get us on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Apple. Our reels are just blowing up. We had some great reels this week. We had, some Palm Beach reels. We had Gavi with Judge Janine. He was at the book signing. And it was a lot of fun watching all those reels. Our Boeing reel, we had a couple thousand views on the door that flew out of Boeing that we're going to talk about again today. But before we start, let's start out with the playoffs, the wild card games. We saw the Cowboys get smoked. That guy, Jerry Jones, he owns the team. He's worth probably $10 billion. He was like physically crying after the game. I can't really feel bad for the guy. But Gavi, this was a tough week, right? What were you, 2-2?
I was 2-2. I lost the Philadelphia Eagles game against Tampa.
Now, do you think the coach of the Eagles gets fired?
Yes.
Why?
I actually thought they would give him that he's due for one more shot, that he could actually that they wouldn't get rid of him. But when you lose like 6 out of the last 7 games,
bad luck,
and you lost the locker room, and basically everybody's telling you to run the ball, and this guy for some reason refused to run the ball, and he lost every single game the same way, that he can't make adjustments. He hired the wrong offensive coordinator.
Why did he change that defensive coordinator in the middle of the season?
When they were like 10-1? Because they were giving up some points and yardage, but not nearly.
But where do you get the guy to bring him in? I don't.
He brought him in before the season started. Patricia. He was he got fired at every position he had. It was with Belichick's guy in New England, but.
Right.
But so Dallas, they have their own problems. I mean, Dallas has an owner that's in his 80s. That wants to win now, so he keeps thinking he can be the general manager. And as long as Jerry Jones wants to be a general manager and not hire somebody for his $9 billion franchise, it's great news for the Eagles, because he can't turn the team around. They have a big decision. Dak Prescott wants $50 million a year.
So he's the quarterback of the team,
and his contract's up. He wants $50 million a year.
He had a couple interceptions in that game.
Yeah, but you can't mortgage on this guy. If you make a mistake, they would have been better off. They got this guy, Trey Lance, will be their quarterback. But going into this week, my picks for this week is there's going to be 4 games. And, you're going to have to lay the points. I like favorites on Saturday. I like the Ravens minus 9.5. And I like San Francisco minus 9.5. Both are favorites. And on Sunday, you have Detroit. I actually like the favorites all week. I like Detroit minus 6.5 over Tampa Bay. And I like Buffalo minus 3 over Kansas City. I believe San Francisco is going to beat up on Green Bay. And
Green Bay was great.
Yeah, and I think the Ravens are going to beat up on the Texans.
Yeah.
So I think that you're going to.
And Buffalo's great. Yeah. Love Buffalo.
Buffalo minus 3. I think it's their time. It's Kansas City's first game at Way Stadium.
Right.
And it's not that it can be any colder than it was in Kansas City.
My God, how cold was it in Kansas City for that playoff game?
It was like minus 20 degrees.
Yeah, it was like.
His helmet broke like when I hit, but. So there's some of the things. It's, one of the things that's coming out, though, we talked about it weeks ago, actually months ago. You mentioned refereeing in the NFL, and it's getting to a point now where you're allowed to have a challenge if it's like a turnover, an interception, something like that, a spot, like where if it's a first down or not. But so far, the league hasn't let you challenge if there should be a pass interference or if something was called and it shouldn't have been. And I think these referees now are making calls with like late in the game, like you're driving and it's tremendous. Like you'll see a guy that they're pulling his jersey back. It's completely interference. They don't call it. except if it was against the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year. They called that one. But
Well, did you see the face masking in the Eagles game?
I mean, yes.
That was ridiculous. But let me just interrupt you for a minute. I mean, just think about doing any normal job, and now try and do that job in negative 20-degree weather. Now, why aren't they doing replays? How difficult is it to make accurate calls when you're so uncomfortable in the field, negative 20 degrees?
But in that game, when the how about the Eagles when they
Right.
did their quarterback sneak that they made a mistake?
Right.
So now let me ask you a question. You have 10 referees that are there. Now you can look all over the field, but the quarterback, all eyes should be on the quarterback.
eyes.
I mean, he's like
Yeah.
that's what you're looking at. Now it's going for their little yard and a half push that they try to do. They held his helmet. Everybody saw it. Well, that's the difference of 2 points. 2 points in a game is a spread. It's an over and under. It's millions of dollars going on that. So I mean, that can't happen.
And they had it right on instant replay. You could see it clear as
Yeah,
day.
they have to be able to challenge that. It can't be that happens anymore. So that's just something that we used to talk about.
All right, so who are your picks for the Super Bowl? I think 49ers are in it, right?
Well, if you listen to our show starting in May when we first started,
Right.
I had Buffalo to win the Super Bowl.
Buffalo.
I thought it would be the Eagles against them, but I have Buffalo in the Super Bowl.
Well, all my friends from Rochester, New York will be thrilled about seeing Buffalo in the Super Bowl. That'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll cost them a lot of money because they'll probably all go to the Super Bowl.
Do you know the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills are two of the NFL franchises? There's only a few left that have never won a Super Bowl.
Now, did you see the locker room of the Detroit Lions? Did you see the coach's speech after the game?
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, you should have seen the speech when he got hired as the job. He did exactly what he said he would do. It's really
I think they should do more of that. Remember NFL Films? What was Saban?
Steve Sable.
Steve Sable. That was pretty cool when they show like the locker room.
I agree with you.
It gets
halftime. It gets you to see the. I mean,
yeah.
How about the one player for the
like the
Eagles this
Cuddy
year
and Gavi
when his
show.
phone went off? There was a guy in the Philadelphia Eagles locker room Gainwell. His phone went off and he answered it.
Right.
He fumbled the ball. By the way, he fumbled the ball in the second quarter. A fan called him up to tell him that he's an asshole, and he actually replied to it at halftime.
That is funny.
That's like
But wouldn't that be fun to watch? The halftime locker room speech by the captain of the team, by the coach. Or
Yes, I think that's where you get to see leadership coming in.
I mean, if I was a coach of a team, okay, now these guys are playing football. Now these big guys get in a fight and they get a 15-yard penalty in a wild card game. I would take that guy. I would sit him on the bench. I'd send him in the locker room. He'd be done. If a guy costs my team 15 yards for a stupid fight on the field, he pushes a guy down, I would like to have an open mic on that when the coach is talking to that guy, when he comes to the sidelines, after he takes a 15-yard penalty.
So I want to give you a quick little story that's interesting with football. So, you have all this money that you get this team together. You have your salary cap, your quarterback's making $40 million a year, your left tackle's making $30 million a year, and all of a sudden, you need a linebacker. So the Eagles wanted a linebacker this offseason. So they get this guy, Jack. His last name is Jack. Played at UCLA, played at Jacksonville. And he was a free agent. He basically was quitting football. So the Eagles begged him to come on. And he came to the Eagles, and he lasted one preseason game. And he said, guys, it's not for me. I'm too old. I'm hanging it up. I thank you for giving me my opportunity in the preseason, but I'm going home. So he goes home, and it's Thanksgiving, and all of a sudden his phone rings after Thanksgiving, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they say, we need you. We got some injuries. Can you come? We're going to put you on the practice squad. He goes on the practice squad for 2 weeks. They get another injury, and all of a sudden he's starting in the game against the Buffalo Bills. And all of a sudden, he gets a penalty for hitting the quarterback way after the play. It cost them, instead of punting, they then get first down.
Right.
They score a touchdown. It changed the game.
Right.
Now, this guy didn't even want to play. He was the Eagles. But they needed it. So here you have all your money. You have your $50 million quarterback, your left
Everything.
tackle, and now you got a linebacker that's basically just as a couch potato now, and he costs your team a playoff game. I mean, there's not enough money for everybody. They got to make the cap bigger to like get more quality.
As a coach, I don't know if a coach can say, you cost us a penalty because you fought somebody on the field. I'm fining you $100,000. Can they do that?
I think his contract was so little. What are you're getting?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have the money to do that.
I understand. But I mean, when I see these guys that are playing contact sports and they get in a fight on the field, I'm like, are these guys retarded? You're so hard to get 5 yards, 3 yards, 10 yards to get in a fight.
I mean, you know what? You get to see where road rage comes in
Yeah.
on the road. They have road rage at the game where they do such dumb things sometimes. You just,
I would lose my mind. Well, anyway, I hope everybody watched our show last week. We had Andy Green, X-Gen Company Products, and it was all about the sex toy industry. It was great. Well, something good came out of that for the Cuddy and Gavi show. We have a sponsor today, Profanity Paraffins. Ben's going to put their website up on the screen. It's fun candles. Take a look at them. And you can buy them on the Profanity Paraffins website. And they'll make a custom candle for you. They have a wonderful aroma. And they have great sayings, as you can see. And you can write anything you want on there. I love my wife. I hate my wife. Please leave me, my wife, or whatever you want to do. And
you could put these things. Every day. You know how like Hallmark came up with cards like for
Right.
grandmother. You know what they have to come up with like for a saying? I think like if it's someone's birthday, that's just one of their lucky days. You know what's another day?
what? Anniversary.
Conception Day.
can
The
say-
day you were conceived. Because I think Conception Day is your parents were happy that day, and you can actually trace down Conception Day. Like if my brother's born in November. So I know Valentine's Day, my mom and dad, maybe there was a candle out there that my dad gave my mom flowers. 9 months later, my brother was born. And then the first May was Mother's Day. My dad probably bought my mom a gift for Mother's Day.
Conception Day.
And 9 months later, January, I was born. I could
you
actually
go.
tell you if your parents were on a trip, if they were there,
Right.
you could figure it out. But I think Conception Day is the miracle day because you could have been anywhere. It depends on which little guy swam.
Well, I think, that's funny. I think this Profanity Paraffins is a great gift. Let's say I'm going to my brother-in-law's house he's having a dinner party. Well, what am I going to do? Buy him a scarf this is fun. You buy him these candles, you put a saying on it, and they're kind of dirty candles, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just something to give to at a dinner party or go to someone in business.
Yeah. It's a great house gift. It's a great Valentine's gift. It's a great, Christmas gift for people that are tough to buy for, like Gavi over here. So, Gavi, we're coming off of the Iowa caucus. Donald Trump smoked it. You have Nikki Haley and DeSantis in second place. Vivek out. He's done.
He's backing.
Christie is at a buffet somewhere. Chris Christie's at a buffet somewhere. And it looks like Donald Trump is the clear winner here.
It's so interesting that before the whole caucus took place, the guy that had the highest caucus ever was George Bush at 41%.
Which 40?
41.
Right.
Yeah.
H. Bush.
Yeah, he had the highest ever at 41%. And everybody was saying that Donald Trump, wasn't going to maybe how he was going to do well. He ended up at 51%. It's the highest ever, ratings-wise. And then you listen to like MSNBC or CNN, and they're
Or
like,
David Muir, your favorite
well,
guy
that's
to
ABC,
listen.
yeah. But they're like, he didn't do that well because he only got half the thing.
Yeah.
But that's because there were other candidates, that
Right.
people had a choice. But they can try to turn it away that he didn't do that well. And then, they have exit polling. during this Iowa caucus, and they asked the people, "What is the most important? What's the most important thing for you in the next election?" And clearly, number one was the southern border. Number two was the economy. So when Trump won, came out ahead on this thing, he was giving his speech, and Jake Tapper on CNN, as he was ready to talk, Jake Tapper said, "Oh, he's talking about the southern border and any illegal immigrants. We're not gonna listen to this." Basically, the guy won, and he's talking about the thing that was the most important subject to the people of Iowa. How do you silence this? How does MSNBC silence it? They talk about democracy, yet here they're not letting you listen to a guy who's going to be one of the candidates running for president. I don't understand how they're controlling what you can listen to, what not, and who they tell you that you're voting for.
Well, I guess you can change the channel.
Well, you got MSNBC and CNN. So I guess you got to go to Fox to hear it.
Yeah, or CNN's been pretty good lately.
They stopped it.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah, Jake Tapper.
How do you not? That would be like Fox not televising something else. But anyway.
Well, I just watched some Democratic strategist try and defend the border policy. And he's basically saying that it's the Republicans' fault because they want to approve the funding, to correct the border policy. And, so if you dig into it, the funding's for more this and more that.
For Ukraine is in there.
Yeah. So it's a bunch of nonsense, but I think that's Joe Biden's big weak link. I would love to have a debate with anybody about the border and explain to me how bringing 8 to 12 million illegal immigrants into this country is helpful for this country. It's devastating for the big cities, the sanctuary cities. It's devastating for the schools.
What I'm a little confused about is Kamala Harris wanted to know what the root cause is. Well, one of the things that I would do to stop it is I would not be offering free health care to anybody who crosses the border and free room and board. I mean, that doesn't stop you from coming. That only encourages you from coming. And then when Biden wants to, on this new deal, he wants to give them immunity for everybody that's already here. I mean, that's not going to stop it. That just encourages it.
Yeah, but can he, before he checks out, I mean, even if Biden only does this in 4 years, he's basically destroyed America with 12 million immigrants. On his way checking out, can't he give a blanket pardon to all the immigrants and make them Americans?
No.
Can't he sign an executive order and say, all 12 million of you are now Americans?
No.
Or allowed to vote?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
I think it's happening.
You
heard it here on the Cuddy and Galvin show on January 17th.
You could bring in everybody and change the election. He could say, okay, listen, where are we a little short? What's the swing state? Georgia, I need 1 million. 1 million people over there. I'm going to now give you immunity. Vote for me.
If he loses, you are going to be shocked. His executive orders on his way out the door. He's going to pardon his son. He's going to have executive order.
I don't think he's running. I think at the end, that's another story. But his son is going.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, just real quick, since you brought up Hunter Biden.
We're all over the place, Galvin.
But just because you brought up Hunter Biden, they found cocaine in his gun holster that he had.
Right.
Now, the FBI knew there was cocaine on this gun holster 4 years ago. So why are they now saying that they tested it and it's when this guy was going for his plea bargain, and if the FBI knew there was coke on his gun and he bought the gun, you're not allowed to be a drug dealer or anything or do drugs, and he lied on that, they could have been way ahead of this thing. Now all of a sudden, I think they want Joe Biden now. I think they're going to use Hunter Biden to force Joe out, but Joe's going to give him a pardon.
The Democrats are going to do that.
I think
that's how they're going to get Joe out.
I think the FBI, they're making things, it's the Democrats who are making things hard on Hunter Biden now. It's too late. You can't save him. I mean, these gun charges, the 3 that he has, he could be looking at 10 years, and that has nothing to even do with the taxes. So,
well, I don't understand. When Donald Trump was indicted and arrested earlier this year, you could see the Secret Service was protecting him. Well, Hunter Biden has Secret Service. Now, if I was his attorney, my strategy would be, all right, Hunter, let's make a plea deal. Let's get you 6 months in jail, but you have Secret Service, so you can't go into jail. You can't go in the general population. We're going to cut a deal. You're going to get 6 months, and you're going to be protected by the Secret Service in some Army base or some federal facility where you're not in jail, and then it's over. No more legal bills, no more bullshit, no more nonsense. It's finished. Why doesn't he do that? Think about it.
He should.
He should take 6 months, and he's not going to go to a real jail. He has Secret Service
And he has protection. And he has protection in there.
He has protection.
Absolutely. And then, by the way, then he can write a book about his experience.
I'm a problem solver now,
you are.
Gotti.
Because he could write a book about his experience.
Right.
It's all
He
past.
could paint a painting.
Right. And it
Right?
makes Joe, yeah.
He could paint a painting of prison life.
I mean, you bring up painting. If you remember Jen Psaki, they all made a deal that no one was going to know who bought his paintings. But then they talked to the gallery, and now the gallery
Our
knows,
audience over here
Yeah.
is hysterical.
And now the gallery, the owner of this gallery, Hunter wanted to know everybody who bought. And do you know the people that bought these paintings?
It was the lawyer, right? The long-haired lawyer?
No, the one that's now got appointed an ambassador. It's a woman that got an
yeah.
ambassadorship. I mean, it was old Democratic. By the way, that's how they figured out how to launder money. And Joe Biden personally called up these people who were buying the art. So he's involved in even of the art. I mean, he brought money in to.
This is so crooked.
You talk about that is unbelievable laundering money through art. It's a genius idea.
But anyway, let's talk about Joe Biden without getting into politics. We're going to talk about check the box.
Okay.
DEI, and it's coming out now with this Lloyd Austin. DEI stands for
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
and everybody's using the words DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay. So DEI, there's all these hires now for DEI, for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're assuming, we talked about Pete Buttigieg because
Kamala
Harris, first woman African-American.
Jackson from the Supreme Court Justice.
Jackson, and obviously this Lloyd Austin who took...
And Gay, who was the Harvard president.
Gay, who was the Harvard president. But now you have Lloyd Austin, and I tore out my New York Post article from today, which, I'm flabbergasted by this. On January 2nd, this is why Joe Biden can't be president of the United States. On January 2nd, Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense, transferred his authority as head of Secretary of Defense to his underling, to his number two in command, a woman. Joe Biden didn't find out about that transfer. Who was running the Secretary of Defense, the Defense Department, second biggest part of the United States government, with 4 wars going on until January 4th. 48 hours it took Joe Biden.
I think we had 24 missiles that were launched our way during that time.
It's crazy to think the President of the United States doesn't know his number one in command in the United States military for 2 days has transferred his authority out.
And do you know where she was when she got the...
She was on vacation.
She was in Puerto Rico on vacation.
Well, Lisa was a United States property.
But this is the guy that got us out of Afghanistan. I mean, this guy can't get fired. I mean, no matter what he does, and then he doesn't tell, is unbelievable. But here's where he makes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris look bad. They're on record when he was in St. Croix and all these vacations that he was going on. He's like, it's a working vacation. They make like they're talking to these guys every day. So I don't care what business you're in. If you're running a construction company and you're building homes, you got your right-hand person, and then you got people that run job sites, your foremans and everything like that. You have your meetings. You have your right-hand person knows what's going on at your biggest job sites. Well, here's Joe Biden. He's making like him and Kamala Harris that they're in constant communication. Well, the one guy that you have to be in communication with is like, hello, Lloyd, we have 42 missiles that were just done. Are we doing anything about it? I mean, how can you go so many days without talking to him? I mean, you're being attacked. How about like...
Well, what's amazing to me is because I've seen it firsthand from being in a front row seat of Donald Trump's presidency. Like over at the golf course there, they set up, when he's there, they set up a command center with like 15 guys and all kinds of computers and everything. In the event that there's a war or something's going on, they have a command center where he is for 5 or 6 hours so that he can control the United States military. And
Because that's the big difference.
so how does Joe Biden in St. Croix or wherever he is, there must be a command center. How does he not know that this guy is AWOL for 4 days?
Because I'm going to tell you why. I think the American people are going to realize that he's not running the country. So there are maybe it's a group of people. It might not be
Hunter's
one person
running the country.
Someone's it could be Barack Obama's running the country, but maybe his people. Maybe it's Susan Rice. Maybe it's a group of people who are running the country. It's not Joe Biden. They march him out there. They hope he doesn't embarrass themselves. They use Jill now to like get him off the stage where he's at. I mean, he looked lost walking through these stores. And the reason why they're happy with him running against Donald Trump is they know that Kamala Harris will probably take over within the first 6 months of the next presidency if Joe Biden should win. She's not going to run the country either. It's going to be the same people who are running it now. They have something in place with Kamala that they're in charge. She'll be just as happy. That's who's running the country right now. It's not Donald Trump. If he was president, I could say he's running the country. You have his command center. Donald Trump is involved.
He's got to be involved.
Look at the way the other day, he just flew from Iowa to New York, back to Iowa. He's flying all over.
And his hair didn't move.
Oh, New Hampshire. He's back in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
He's in South Carolina. Joe Biden makes like he goes from Delaware to Philadelphia. If you notice, he's in Philadelphia all the time because he makes like it's Pennsylvania. He keeps calling it Pennsylvania. And for our listeners out there, he wants you to think he's traveling. That is the distance, if you're a New Yorker, that is the distance from going from Long Island to Manhattan. That's how far he keeps traveling, and he's exhausted. After he's done that, he puts a lid on it, and he has to take a nap.
Well, now he's not starting his day till 11 o'clock, they say. From 9, he moved it to 11, and he's calling his day at 3 o'clock. That's it. But let's talk about check the box, DEI. Do you think China or North Korea or Russia is picking their cabinet officers from check the box? I don't think so.
No, because anybody who put that movement going forward in China, that would even start that movement, they've already been killed.
Yeah.
They've already been killed. So there is no movement to get it. Our country has this movement going, and a lot of people, to be honest, when they see the president of Harvard, Gay, and they think that, okay, she's a DEI hire, they're thinking, okay, that doesn't affect me. You live in Nebraska, you live in Mississippi, you're thinking, okay, that doesn't really affect me. So if that's not affecting you, you're like, let the person keep there. But when it all of a sudden, if it's your doctor, or if it's all of a sudden it's you're on a
Let's say you're on a Boeing, you're on a flight, Southwest Airlines, flying somewhere, and the pilot gets on and he says, I just want to tell you, I was a DEI hire. I wasn't the most qualified guy to fly this plane, but Southwest has a diversity program, and we had a make sure that we had a set of diversity candidates to fly this plane. How many people do you think would stay on that plane? Don't you think a lot of people would get off if he says, I'm not the most qualified, I just got the job because DEI?
Yeah, but that's where now it becomes important. You see, if it doesn't affect you, like people could say Mayor P is now the DEI of transportation, and they could sit there and say, okay, it's not really going to affect me that much. But now they find out that the door that flew off the plane, they gave it to an aerospace company. I forget, Solar Aerospace. Spirit, yeah. Aerospace, and they're in charge of the door. And if you look at their track record and their safety record, it's horrible. They failed a lot of these safety issues. They were a DEI hire that Boeing had to hire to put these doors on. Well, I would like to know now, if you're flying a plane, would you like to know, okay, there's a DEI company that put the wing together. There's a DEI that did the door. There's a DEI that does our navigation. Like, I don't want to have to worry about, like, are they qualified for when you're flying? And to make it easy, like Mark Cuban, basically, he's for DEI. He's for like hiring DEI.
He owns the Dallas Mavericks basketball team.
The Dallas Mavericks basketball team.
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban. And it was interesting because Elon Musk came up with his answer to that. He basically feels to Mark Cuban, how come you don't have
short Jewish guy
playing like guard? How come you don't have a Chinese guy on your team?
Right.
And a little Chinese guy. And all of a sudden, Mark Cuban would say, because my job is to put the best product on that court, and if I can win games, I can fill up my arena, I can get more TV money, I can pay the players more money, and the people of Dallas are happy. But he's allowed to put his best product out there by getting the best players. Well, why, if you have an advertising company, why shouldn't you be able to hire the most qualified advertisers?
Or you have a board of directors of a Fortune 50 company.
Well, you know what happens if you have to hire a DEI person? Do you know what could happen if you're in the advertising business? You might not think it's a big deal, but you might get some girl that graduated at Harvard University, and she said, I have a new idea. I'm going to change Bud Light. I'm going to put a transgender girl to represent the new Bud drinker. How did that work out?
Yeah, it destroyed a company. Lost $25 billion in market cap.
Because of a DEI hire.
Right.
So here's a company that's on automatic pilot, doing great. They all of a sudden got pressured into a DEI hire, and now Bud Light is scrambling like crazy.
Yeah, so I guess DEI works in situations where it's not affecting people's health, welfare, things like that.
Yeah, but everybody's okay when it doesn't affect them. So all of a sudden, if you wanted to buy yourself a F-150 truck, and all of a sudden you found out that the person that was handling the gear shifts was a DEI company that put them in for Ford, and all of a sudden it would slip on you. All of a sudden, now you're concerned about that. Now you want to know every single person that put that Ford together.
Well, how do you fix it? I mean, how do you get rid of DEI now?
You just get rid of it. There should be no DEI.
Don't you think there's going to be a huge public outcry?
That's why you vote for probably Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think that, you look at
politics now.
Yeah, now you have companies like Bud Light that are really suffering, or Harvard really suffering, or the
Penn.
Defense Department.
Yeah, or the
Penn,
Defense Department.
Or Boeing. All these companies. Can you imagine the lawsuits Boeing's going to have over that door? Can you imagine? Lawyers signed up every single person on that plane already. They're already signed up for PTSD.
But it's not just Boeing, because now you got to realize 75% of United's fleet is this plane.
Yeah, the MAX.
So now they're grounded. So now you have United Airlines is grounded. How does that affect the guy that wants to fly from Dallas-Fort Worth to Chicago this afternoon, and they tell him that his flight got canceled and they can't put him on it for 3 days? All of a sudden, it affected him.
Right. Well, you were the one that brought to my attention so up north, all the weather's terrible, and all these planes are being canceled, and it's being exasperated by the fact that so many of the Boeing jets are grounded. So the weather's killing all the flights, and now the fact that all the Boeing planes are grounded.
Yeah, you know who had that really ran into some bad luck? The guy that found out his United Airlines flight, was canceled because of all the planes were grounded. So he quickly decided to rent a car. And the only cars that were available were these Teslas. And the next thing you know, he needed to fill up his thing. And now he's stuck on the highway for 6 hours because the batteries froze. Now that's bad luck, don't you think?
Well, a friend of mine today went to fill his Tesla up in Atlantic City. And of the 10 charging stations, only 2 worked because evidently the cold weather has affects the charging station. So he had this long line of people in front of him to try and charge his car with only 2 working stations. I don't know how, states like California, which don't have weather issues, but they, how they're going to mandate all these electric cars when, they're still having such fundamental problems with these
Our
cars.
grids aren't ready. We're just not ready.
Right, the electric grid's not
The
ready.
electric grid, in the summer, it's too hot. They're telling you to take your air conditioning. So, I mean, it's like, it's crazy, like all these different issues that come into play on that. I mean, look, if you look at California, how crazy it is. I mean, you have Governor Newsom just vetoed a bill that actually he had to veto something that came to his desk, that California passed a bill that children under 12 years and under, that football, they can't play tackle football.
Is that ridiculous?
So it's too dangerous. They thought it was too dangerous. But Governor Newsom couldn't sign that bill. He had to veto it because he couldn't in his right mind know that if a 9-year-old wants to chop his penis off and become a girl, that is okay. But you can't play tackle football because that's too dangerous. They, instead of having a parent decide, the people of California wanted the government to decide if you should be able to play tackle football.
Well, how do we get back to some normalcy in America? It just seems like everything is just getting, outside the lines here. I mean, did you read this article in the New York Post today?
Got to vote Republican.
Yeah. But did you read this article in the New York Post today about the blood bank for dogs and cats?
No.
Oh my God, this is unbelievable. So evidently there's a blood bank. This is horrific. There's a blood bank for dogs and cats that need surgery. And they're drawing the blood from sick dogs and cats in these SPCA kennels, that where these dogs and cats are about to be euthanized. But before they euthanize them, if the dog is sick, they'll take the blood and use that in the blood banks for these healthy dogs and cats that are about to have surgeries. It's just so fucked up anymore. All this stuff that's happening, it's like, what universe are we living in? Anyway, let's talk about, we're talking about this freezing cold weather. Are you watching the stuff on Davos in Switzerland where all the geniuses of the business world are over there?
And the hookers from...
Oh, yeah, they got the big hookers over there. But you have Vladimir...
How many toys do you think Andy Green has sent over to Davos?
Oh, my God. But you have Vladimir Volinsky, whatever the hell his name is. I can't pronounce it. What the hell's he doing there? Why is he there meeting Jamie Dimon from J.P. Morgan?
I think he's asking for money.
What's Jamie Dimon's going to lend them money?
I think that he thinks that he has maybe Biden's inner ear. I think that right now, there's a lot of people that don't want to give money to Ukraine right now
I
for
wouldn't
what they
give them
want.
any more money.
So
they have to be accountable for the money that you gave them. Maybe they need the money. Tell us where you spent it. It's not our responsibility to give your military people a pension in Ukraine, and that's where a lot of the money went, to things like that.
Yeah, I agree, but it's and by the way, just so you know, someone asked John Kerry a question. They wanted to know, how do you feel about your carbon footprint? That all these private jets there, I think it's the equivalent of like 340,000 cars on the road.
Think about that. All these private jets are these CEOs that went to Davos, Switzerland.
That no one like carpool, basically.
Nobody flew together. They all flew in the road. Who
Right.
has the bigger dick, bigger jet?
Right.
I have the newest jet, the biggest jet. So they all had to fly their own jet there, and it's equal to, what was that number?
Like 340,000 cars. Like,
340,000 cars, and these are all the people that are screaming green, 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 and they're flying this private jet there.
yeah, I mean it's you know what though. I would like to be I would like to be able to be a tourist there during that time, because I bet it must be wild.
Oh, it's wild.
I mean, like, that was like that's how I think Bill Gates started to call up Jeffrey Epstein after that.
Right. I mean, the restaurants, the wine, the food, everything.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the bottles of wine. I would like to be able to say, all right, what bottles of wine went to that table, and like what was the total price of that table?
Well, I remember years ago, I went out to lunch with a bunch of bankers, And there was the president of the bank, the big shot guy from, well, I'm not going to say the bank, North Carolina Bank, and then my loan officer, and then a group of other people. Well, they're ordering like $1,000 bottle of wines, and I wasn't paying. The bank was treating. And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, this is unbelievable. The check comes, my loan officer grabs the check. And I'm like sitting there and I'm saying, why is my loan officer paying this check when the big shot president of this giant bank is sitting at the table? So afterwards, I asked him that question. He said, because he signs my expense sheet. So I charge it and he signs my expense sheet. If he charges it, the board has to look at it. So this is how they get around it.
That's great.
Everybody's got a trick.
Right. Everybody has a way to get around
the system.
The system.
They're ordering $1,000 bottle of wines. The lower end guy is paying for it because the upper end guy is signing off on it. It's absolutely crazy. Well, Gabby,
that's the world. That's the world, by the way. That's doing that.
So we have a lot of football this weekend. The weather's warming up in South Florida. We're not going to worry about the freeze. Up north, they have all January, all February.
They have the New Hampshire primaries that they're going to have here. I just want to give you my quick prediction since it's up there.
Let's hear it.
My prediction is that after New Hampshire, you're going to see Trump, Haley, and Santis. They're still going to all be in the race. They're all going to claim that they did pretty good. And then they're going to come to South Carolina, and Donald Trump is going to blow away the field, that he's going to destroy Nikki Haley in her home state, and she will be gone after South Carolina. DeSantis will also be gone, and his money guys, Griffin and these guys from Citadel, they're going to disappear. And it's going to be Donald Trump as the sole guy going in from...
So now if Donald Trump's the only guy like Joe Biden, what happens like on a Super Tuesday? Do they still have it or...
Yeah, you still have to have it because you get the delegates from all the other...
Right, but how does it work? I mean, do they actually, everybody goes out and votes and there's only one...
when it's their time, their primary, and basically if there's only one guy, they're going to
vote the one guy.
Yeah, and if you want to do a write-in, you can...
Write-in for Gavi.
Yeah, you could do that.
We could do a write-in for Gavi.
But it's... but I'll tell you, I'll tell you what's going to be interesting, and you're hearing it here first.
Okay.
There will not be a debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
I agree.
There will be no more debates, and it's going to be interesting because you might have a vice president go up against Kamala Harris, but there will be no debates. The only debate that you could have close would be if Donald Trump said, I'll tell you what, I'll go against Kamala Harris if you want, since she's going to be the person that's really...
Well, why would he do that?
To diminish Joe Biden, to make you're really not the guy.
Why would Joe Biden agree to that?
But then somebody has... It's like you want someone to fight. You know, you drop the gloves and it's hockey. You want someone... You don't want to drop your gloves and there's no one to fight. I mean...
I think he's done enough damage in 4 years. If he's going to fight this war from his basement, no debates, and if he loses, he loses.
But here's the one big difference between the last time. The last time he scared everybody into Donald Trump. Like this is, like when Hillary Clinton was running. Don't vote for Donald Trump because he's the devil. He's horrible. He's this. Now you get Joe Biden, who then came out and he says, I'm your person for COVID. I'm your other stuff. I'm going to turn around. Well, now people can look back and say, okay, you could tell me about democracy all you want with Trump. I lived through Trump. I went through 4 years of Trump. So let's see. Okay, I'm still standing. Everything's okay. I know that...
COVID messed Trump up, too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Donald Trump didn't do anything. He was the first president, no wars. There was the crime in the cities were down. Inflation was down. Mortgage rates were down. Our southern border was closed.
Secure.
You got to turn around and say, okay, so that's what I'm signing up for. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I mean, that's not scaring me. You'll say, oh, my God, I might get 4 more years of that. No, I'm okay with that.
Well, I also think Donald Trump's a much better candidate this time. I mean, he has film on himself. He gets to watch his film. They get to point out all the mistakes he made.
How about the way he, says to everybody, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
he's actually already telling the other guys, I'm sorry that you came in second and third.
I think that he's a much better candidate this time. Joe Biden has a record now. Joe can't get up there and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He has a record. He's got to live on his record.
But I will say one thing. He can say anything he wants, Trump, and he could tell you, and there will be no really bad tweets until that election night. But that first day, boy. He's going for bear. There's going to be some repercussions. Hunter, you better take your pardon now.
Yeah,
take your deal
6
now.
months in jail right now. I mean, he's gonna have executive orders or whatever the hell he does out the yin yang and just go crazy.
Lot.
And he's going to hire. I want to know who he's going to hire as Attorney General. He's got to get some guy that is just some ruthless guy.
But you know what? I think
brutal.
the country's learning real quickly. He has this case in Georgia going on right now, and as it turns out, the Attorney General and the district attorney that she hired. By the way, he charged more than 4 times as much as any other district attorney. And the guy was a negligence lawyer. He never did a RICO case before.
Well, how about the fact that he had meetings with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
Yeah, why is a local
bullshit guy
is meeting 3 times
the president of the United States about his case
against because he's doing a case. Prosecuting a case against his candidate.
That's the smoking gun.
Right, and that's where he says, and that's when Joe Biden talks about democracy. He's trying to stop Donald Trump from running by all these little things. Like Donald Trump's in court today with that Carol wants more money.
Carol. I just don't even understand that case. They say he raped her in
Bergdorf Goodman. Come
a
on.
dressing room. Every time I've seen the guy, he's had 3 bodyguards around him in the middle of a dressing room, in the middle of Bergdorf Goodman. He raped somebody.
Right, and by the way, he's running.
It just doesn't seem to add up.
He's running Miss USA at the time and Miss Universe contests. There's, like he said in that thing, there's 1,000 girls if he wanted to be with. He's not going to sit there and say, you know what, let me go for the girl. I'm going to drag her into the Bergdorf.
Well, it's just not, if you've been in that dressing room area, it's just not feasible. I mean, you just can't do it.
Right.
I mean, I just
Especially
don't
if you're
know.
Donald Trump. I mean, everybody knows him. He's guy's 6'4".
But whatever. I mean, let's get back to our sponsor before we say goodbye, Gavi, because there's a promo code CUT, C-U-T. You get 10% off on any of these candles. Can we see it one more time, Ben? Profanity Paraffins. And it's these wonderful candles that smell amazing. We're going to have some on our set next week.
I think everybody, when it has like hurricane season comes, you can say, you could F the name of the hurricane. Maybe it's Ivan. F Ivan.
and we had one of the sponsor of Profanity Candles here, saw our sex show, thought it was wonderful, and brought it to my attention. And I said, look, for $56,780, you can sponsor our show for the week.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, sure, I'll be happy to do it. And there you go. We have Profanity
And maybe we'll be in Davos next year.
Yeah, we'll be in Davos, right? Anyway, folks, Gavi, you have anything else you want to talk about before we say good night, goodbye?
I think you're gonna start seeing. We figured out some of these special reels. We're gonna be on assignments up and down the South Florida way. So you're gonna see us at different locations.
We did a couple remote on Gavi's birthday. By the way, it was Gavi's birthday last week, and he looks pretty good for 83 years old, doesn't he?
62. I feel pretty good.
But anyway,
like new.
Yeah, but we did a remote location over here at the Boca Resort, owned by Michael Dell. A beautiful place, gorgeous. They did $1 billion renovation or whatever the hell it was, and our equipment malfunctioned. My fault. Gavi was right on it. It was my fault. I had, the bad equipment malfunctioning. So hopefully Ben's going to help us out with the equipment today. We're going to try and get those because they may be saved. They may not be dead. So we may be playing them next week or do some reels with them.
And we might do some during the week. If something comes up, we might even have like emergency.
Man on the street.
Yeah.
Man on the street in Palm Beach. Or maybe we'll walk
Miami Design District.
Yeah, let's go down to the design.
We can talk about some like high-end stuff. Like I would like to show people about what's going on in the watch industry. I mean,
Beautiful.
right now tonight, if anybody wants to stay up and watch Tommy Paul, he's on ESPN, Australian Open. He's on roughly, I think, like 7 o'clock tonight, followed by Jess Pagula, two guys that wear De Bethune watches. Great watch. You can watch it. They actually wear their watches during the thing. They're both
They wear
Americans.
while they play tennis?
They wear it while they play tennis.
Wow, can you do that? Will watch hold up to it like
Oh,
that?
yeah, these are great watches. So you got to watch
Wow, that's impressive.
Tommy Paul.
With the hitting,
Yeah.
the watch doesn't explode.
And we got special watches for them, nice rubber
Wow.
bands. So it's and they're the best like the Americans out there.
All right, great. Well, we're looking forward to watching that. I'll try and stay up. Maybe I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up.
That's right. I've been, I've been watching them. Been staying up watching the old, it's 90 some degrees over there in
Unbelievable.
Australia. It's bizarre how.
That's one trip, too. That's a schlep. Anyway, folks, thank you for joining us today. It was a great, lively show. We had so much material to cover, and I think we got through half of it, right? So anyway, we'll see you next week. We are on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Apple. You can get our podcast and listen to us anytime you want. Gavi, great to see you.
You too. See ya.
Take care.
'Cause I'm only